Good morning, Enid. It is Thursday, August 18th. Thanks for joining us. 8 days till high school football. Can you believe that? I'm ready for some football, aren't you? Earlier, there was just a gorgeous full moon to the west, and maybe you saw that gorgeous full moon in the east last night. But it's that time of year with football and full moons and just cooler mornings. Right now, it's mostly clear, 68 degrees. However, the high today is going to be around 90 degrees. For our pilots out at Vance, our winds are out of the south-southeast at 7 miles per hour right now. So thank you for joining us this morning. Until we meet again, old friend, tales of an old soldier. We have a very special guest this morning on Good Morning Enid. You don't want to miss it. Colonel Art Reed is in the studio, and he's going to be talking about this book this morning. Thanks for joining us. Good Morning Enid. It is time to rise and shine. Good morning, Enid. Thanks for joining us at 7:31 on this Thursday, August 18th. Mercy, the month is moving along. I was trying to show you the cover of the book of the author that's in the studio today. There you see it right there. We'll have more on this in just a moment. So thank you for joining us. And again, high today is going to be 90 degrees. Second day at school for many individuals as you're preparing to go out the door for school this morning. Let's take a look at our statewide temps, the way things look across the state. Thank you, Penn. Looks like way out in Turpin. I've been to Turpin out in the Panhandle. It was a cool 62 degrees out there in the Panhandle, all the way down to Hobart and Depew. Depew's on Route 66, in case you're wondering. Little historical fact right there. So you can see 62 to 74 degrees is the variation of temperatures across the state today. So, and I think it's going to be pretty much in the 90s across the state as well. Well, here we are on a Thursday. Let's look at the 3-day forecast, just in case you have plans for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As you can see, there's going to be a change take place. I don't know if that's Friday night or Saturday morning, but you can see where there's the change because tomorrow's high is in the 90s, but look at Saturday, barely 82 degrees. So we'll have to check with AJ, our official weather radar expert, and let us find out when that front's coming through. But anyway, it's looking pretty good, 82 degrees in August, and then 84 on Sunday. So pretty nice, pretty nice. Right now, we're at 68 degrees here in our studio at the Enid Television Network, and we appreciate you joining us today. A lot of things going on. School got started. We'll look at some menus in just a moment, but there's also a job fair that's taking place today. The Oklahoma National Guard is sponsoring this job fair, and it's over at the Central Bank Center from 10:30 this morning to 2:30. And if you can't go, and you can go to okmilitaryconnection.com, and it's an opportunity to hire veterans, if you will, and it's a hiring event today at Convention Hall, Central National Bank Center, I should say, at 301 South Independence. That gets underway later this morning till early this afternoon, so you want to keep that in mind. Well, in case you are just drinking coffee and don't know what happened overnight, we have an answer for you. And that's our bow tie guy, Derek Silas. So it's time now to find out about the latest news that happened overnight with the Oklahoma Minute.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has named Governor Mary Fallin, Secretary of Agriculture Jim Reese, State Senator Eddie Fields, and State Representative Casey Murdoch to his newly created Agriculture Advisory Committee. Oklahoma will have to work on its Family and Medical Leave Act policies, The state recently received a grade of F for failing to enact a single policy to support new and expecting parents beyond the now 23-year-old federal FMLA. The recent murder of a Tulsa Lebanese man by his neighbor has received national attention. The case is pending. After an ATV accident this summer, which left 3 fingers amputated, an Enid teen overcomes challenges to make music. Claire Scoggins says she hopes her story will motivate others to pursue their passions even when they feel like they can't. Enid residents are asked to take the Curbside recycling survey at enid.org/recycling survey. And on this day in history, in 1992, celebrated Boston Celtics forward Larry Bird retires. And in 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution guaranteeing women the right to vote is ratified by Tennessee, giving it the 2/3 majority of state ratification necessary to make it the law of the land. And that's the Oklahoma Minute. Back to you, Steve.
Very good. It's 7:36. Good job. I had no idea about Larry Bird's retirement. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but you said 92? Whoa, mercy. I guess we're getting older every day or every week or every minute. I know it's really going quick. So, how many bow ties do you have, Derek? By the way, that's an impressive look. I like that. Very, as they say, dapper or GQ-ish or whatever. So we can count on Derek to lead us in our fashion statements. Well, if you have some exciting photos, and we have an exciting photo to show you, you can send those photos to gme@enid.org. And I think we have a photo. Yeah, there we go. There's the email address. Thank you, Penn. And send your photos, your vacation pictures, your birthday pictures, birthday announcements. Send it to gme@enid.org. And I don't have the information up, but my mother-in-law turns 93 this Saturday. So, Viva, I want to wish you a happy birthday early. I don't have your photo to put up there, but Viva Lovett turns 93 this Saturday, August 20th. And then her little girl, which is my wife, has a birthday the following Saturday. So they kept them really close in that particular. So we want to say happy birthday. And then we'll have a special birthday for my wife next week. Make you wonder what I'm up to. Anyway, gme@enid.org. And then there's a picture that maybe we can get up of another family member. There he is. There's one of them. This belongs to Brooke, family member there. And it's kind of hard for me to see with the lights, but I think this is the one that closed the door on the pickup truck. And if you look at the look, it's like, next time you mess with me, I'm going to walk atop your pickup truck or something. Anyway, those are great pictures. Oklahoma, it's got to be the sunset, right? Is that the sunset? And I wish I had my camera this morning. You see, AJ went on vacation. Where did he go? All the way downtown to the Central National Bank Center. Very good. And AJ and some of his family members right there as well. We had Kyle Dillingham on our show quite some time ago, and Kyle, if you're watching, you turned us down. We wanted you to be here this month. Anyway, we're just kidding. We're really excited about Kyle and all the success he's enjoying. But they are having Kyle is having a concert tonight, live this evening at the Enid Symphony Center. Kyle Dillingham and the Horseshoe Road. And Kyle promised that he's going to be on our show in the near future, but he was booked for really most of August, but we'll have him in the near future. But we just say congratulations. And if you want to hear Kyle Dillingham and Horseshoe Road, that is tonight at the Enid Symphony Center. So, well, it's 7:39. We need to move along real quick. And Brooke is back and let us know what's happening at the Central National Bank Center.
Good morning, Enid. Thank you for having me back this morning. We've got a lot going on at the Central National Bank Center. Moving into September, we just recently announced just this week that we'll have 3 Dog Night. That's going to be on Thursday, September 29th at 7:30 p.m. If you're a part of our Cyber Club, then you can purchase tickets today online only, and then tickets will go on sale tomorrow. Those ticket prices do start at just $29 each. And a fun fact about Three Dog Night, in the 1960s, they opened for 1910 Fruit Gum Company, and that was here in Enid at Phillips University. So we're really glad that they're back here in Enid with us. And then moving on, we've got Ted Nugent on September 2nd. Tickets are still available for that event. And then a fun event that we're having is the Enid Young Professionals 10 Under 40 Awards Luncheon. That will be in the Grand Ballroom on August 30th. The keynote speaker is Mike Fields, the district attorney. So we're glad to have him for that event, and be sure to come and see who the award recipients are for that. We've got more event announcements coming up, so be sure to visit our website and join our Cyber Club. Thank you, and back to you, Steve.
Very good. Thank you, Brooke. As you can tell, there's just week after week, events and events here in Enid, Oklahoma. Real quick, before we go to our special guest, let's take a look at the lunch menus. We have to get back into that routine. I believe this was up to grade 5, I believe. Anyway, you can see what we're having today. Makes me want to go to school. Salisbury steak, scalloped potatoes. Now the okra, I can go for the okra. Banana, I'd give that to the next person. And WG, remind me, is that whole grain? Fancy whole grain hot roll. Anyway, and tomorrow's looking a little bit better. Makes me want to go to school on Friday because we'll have a chicken sandwich and pickles and the fruit and all that. So anyway, if you're preparing for school today at 7:41, that is the menu pre-K5. Very good. Okay, until we meet again, old friend, we have the author of that book, and now it's time for Jamara, one-on-one with Jamara.
Our special guest on One-on-One with Jamara is retired Army Colonel Art Reed. Good morning, Mr. Reed. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me. Good morning, America.
He's here to talk about his book, Until We Meet Again, Old Friend, Tales of an Old Soldier. Mr. Reed, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I'm a storyteller, and for 50 years I've been telling some of those stories, and my 2 daughters and wife kind of forced me or convinced me that I ought to put them in writing. So 4.5 years ago, I started writing the book. It took me 4 years.
Wow.
But
wow.
I've enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Now, you could have retired anywhere in the world, but you chose to retire in Enid, Oklahoma. Tell us about that story.
Well, I was in the Pentagon on my last tour, and I had put in my retirement papers, and I wanted to retire in North Carolina. And my wife said, "Oh, honey, you can retire anywhere in the United States that you want within the city limits of Enid, Oklahoma." And so I retired, and we lived next door to her mom and dad till they both died. And then we moved up on the Graham Avenue where we are now. But it was, I've enjoyed Enid. I don't miss the busyness of Chicago or the gnats in North Carolina.
So how long have you been in Enid then?
Over 32 years.
Wow.
I tell people I've lived in Enid longer than I spent in the military.
Wow. Now, let's talk about the book. Your book is a collection of stories, short stories or memories from the time you served in the Army, right? And you served for a little over 30 years.
Just under 30.
Under 30, okay. Could you tell us a little bit about some of those experiences, maybe in a couple of the countries that you visited?
Well, I'll tell you a funny one that happened to me when I first got to my detachment up in the Ashow Valley. I was the commander of a forward Special Forces detachment in the Alui Valley, a little town called Alui in the Ashow Valley. And the first night there, it was cool, but one of the sergeants said, "Hey, sir, put your mosquito netting down." I said, "There's no mosquitoes around here. What do I want?" He said, "Well, we have rats." They were rice rats. They were about that big from the back side of the rat to the nose. They were bigger than a squirrel.
Wow.
And I brought everything in onto the bunk, including my .45 caliber pistol, which I stuck next to me. And I left an ammo crate outside with my Marlboro cigarettes. I smoked then. And somewhere in the dark of the night, I heard this strange noise. And I slowly reached for the pistol and slowly turned towards what I thought was somebody in the bunker. And here sits this rat up on his haunches with a cigarette in his hands or paws, whatever you call them, and he's going, and when he gets to the filter, he spits it out, just like a kid does. And I'm watching him, he reaches in, grabs the pack of Marlboros again, he shakes another cigarette out and does it again. I thought, hell, it's the only cigarettes I got, I better get rid. So I reached over to whop him with the pistol, and before I hit the screen, he left. So then I did something stupid, and I said, well, why don't we pay him 10 piastres for every rat they catch? Except you have to explain to people you want them dead. So comes a knock on the bunker door. Sergeant said, it's for you, sir. I opened the door, and here stands this mountain yard with 4 rats by the tail. Their tails are about that long. They're both hands, got 2 each. They're all alive. I thought, now what am I going to do? See, so this is a game to them. Well, into the night, we got rid of the rats, but into the night, I suddenly decided this is enough. I made 2 stupid mistakes here. We're not going to compound this. But one of the most interesting things that happened to me was in Bayern, Germany, when we got to Germany years later after I was married. And there were 2 gentlemen in town, one from Scotland named Harry, the German said Hottie, and Heinrich, who had the local guest house, served beer and sandwiches, home-cooked meals. And they had been living together for 25 years since World War II. They both served in World War II.
Wow.
But they never talked about it. So one day at lunch, I sat down with Harry and I said, Harry, I just read an article about Kasserine Pass. Weren't you there? He said, yeah, I was at Kasserine. Now, just as he said Kasserine Pass, Heinrich came up with his apron and 2 beers for us. And he turned to his daughter, he said, you take care of him. And he left and went upstairs. He came back down with his maps in his map cases. The tankers used to carry their maps in a map case. And he made me take my food away and put it to another table. He sat down with Harry and spread the maps out on the table, and the 2 of them were talking about the Battle of Kasserine Pass, which is a famous battle. Rommel was beating the British and the American tank units, and then he retreated with his full force. We didn't beat him at the pass. Wow. 25 years after the war, here's a German and a Scotsman learning that they were firing at each other at Kasserine Pass. Wow. They had both lived in town together for 25 years. Harry worked at the depot. They belonged to the rifle club together. They belonged to the singing group together, and they never discussed it. But I learned something about history.
Wow.
Because they both came over to my table and admitted that if it hadn't have been for the stupid maneuvers by the Americans, the Brits would have beat Rommel at Kasserine Pass.
Wow.
Little things. And then later on, we got to meet Adolf Hitler's armament minister, Albert Speer. He died a couple years later in London of a heart attack. But I don't remember him as the armament minister. I remember him as the man who saved Heidelberg, because Hitler told the mayor of Heidelberg and the military to destroy it. And Albert Speer went back and said, no, you can't do that.
Wow, wow.
Things like that, just, military life is not always boring.
Right, right. And I know that you have many other stories to share with us, and that they're in your book. Now, what's the most memorable story? We have, I think, a couple minutes, if you can tell us real quick.
I think meeting my mom's first cousin, Fritz, in Germany.
Oh, wow.
We were called the American Steigers. That's my mother's maiden name. And the family of 7 or 8 children, my mother's father being one of them, Johannes Steiger, was Fritz's brother. And when my wife remembers it took me a couple minutes to convince him I was who I was. And when he finally realized I was Emma Steiger's son, he hugged me, and then he took my hands and he put my hand next to him, and he said in German, "You have a Steiger hand."
Wow.
But Fritz called his two sons, Erwin and Heinz. Heinz was a submariner in World War II. And what we learned, I asked him, I said, "Fritz, what did you do during the war?" And in his German English, he said, "Well, wir went into the bunker when the American planes came to bomb us."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, the women, they knitted, and the men, they schlepped or read. And the Americans weren't very good shots because they missed us."
Wow. Well, Mr. Reed, we are very happy that you were able to join us this morning. If you want to know more about the story of Mr. Reed, until we meet again, old friend, you can contact the number on the screen, or you can visit the website at artreadsbook.com. Thanks for watching One-on-One with Jomara. Now let's watch this safety video from Sergeant Eric Riddick about school safety zones.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Eric Reddick, Enid Police Department, Sergeant of the Traffic Division. It's school time again, which means you will probably be driving through a school zone during your day. Always observe the speed limit posted in a school zone, and watch out for children crossing the street. If a crossing guard enters a school crossing with his or her stop sign held up, be sure to stop. When you see a school bus turn on its flashing red lights and deploy its stop sign, traffic coming from both directions must stop. Remember especially to keep an eye out for children crossing the street. Let's make this a safe school year. Thank you.
Good morning, Enid. Thank you for staying with us on this Thursday, August 18th. Holding steady at 68 degrees. If you're planning today, high today is going to be a warm 90 degrees, and it's 7:52. And to find out for the latest news that happened overnight, here's the bow tie guy, Derek Silas, with the Oklahoma Minute.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has named Governor Mary Fallin, Oklahoma Secretary of Agriculture, a state senator, and a state representative to his newly created Agricultural Advisory Committee. Oklahoma will have to work on its Family and Medical Leave Act policies. The state recently received a grade of F for failing to enact a single policy to support new and expecting parents beyond the now 23-year-old federal FMLA. After an ATV accident this summer, which left 3 fingers amputated, an Enid teen overcomes challenges to make music. Claire Scoggins says she hopes her story will motivate others to pursue their passions even when they feel like they can't. Enid residents are asked to take the Curbside Recycling Survey at enid.org/recycling survey. And on this day in history, in 1992, celebrated Boston Celtics forward Larry Bird retires. And in 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, guaranteeing women the right to vote, is ratified by Tennessee, giving it the 2/3 majority of the state ratification necessary to make it the law of the land. And that's the Oklahoma Minute. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Derek. I'd like to remind you that today's show will be played back on the Enid Television Network, Channel 12, at 11:30 this morning, 5:30 this afternoon, and 8:30 tonight. So you can hear the story with what Mr. Reed was sharing with us, and the entire show will be replayed 3 times today. So let's take a look at I'd like to remind you at 8 o'clock, we have Gus Oliver. Gus is a former Enid resident, and he talks about the history of the Oklahoma license tag with me. And that show is coming up at 8 o'clock this morning, around 30 minutes. Very informative about the Oklahoma license tag, all the changes, and it's very fascinating. Gus Oliver at 8 o'clock this morning. If we can, let's take a look at the 3-day forecast, because the weather is changing in Oklahoma. Looks like a front's coming down sometime Friday evening or early Saturday morning, because you see the 12-degree difference there from Friday to Saturday. And look at Sunday, a gorgeous sunny sky, looks like. Low of 50s in the morning, my word, open the windows, and a high of 84 degrees. So, gorgeous weather. Not bad for the middle of August. Tour de Trikes takes place in August every year here in Enid, Oklahoma. And I believe Saturday is the date, as you can see right there, and the criterium takes place all at the downtown at the David Allen Memorial Ballpark and starts at 7:30 early Saturday morning. And tourdetrikes.com is the email address if you want to find out more. Well-attended event, takes place downtown, so you know there will be some street closing, things of this nature. But that's this Saturday morning, so keep that in mind. Well, the morning is moving along. It's a quick 30 minutes for us. It's 7:55, and it's time one more time to bring Brooke back.
Thanks for having me back this morning. We've got a lot going on at the Central National Bank Center. Our most recent announcement just this week is 3 Dog Night. They'll be here in September on the 29th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets do go on sale today for our Cyber Club members, but tomorrow for everyone else. So you can call if you'd like tickets for that event. They were here back in the 1960s at Phillips University when they opened for the 1910 Fruit Gum Company. So we're glad to have them back here in Enid. And then we've got Ted Nugent. Tickets are still available for that event on Friday, September 2nd. And in August, the end of this month, we'll have the Enid Young Professionals 10 Under 40 Awards Luncheon. That'll be in the Grand Ballroom, and we're proud to have Mike Fields as the keynote speaker, and we are very excited to find out who the 10 recipients are of that really great award. Thank you, and back to you, Steve.
Good morning, Brooke, or excuse me, thank you, Brooke, and good morning, everyone. It's 7:56, and by the way, our winds are out of the south-southeast at 7 miles per hour. It's going to be kind of a mild day, wind-wise here in Oklahoma, but a high around 90 degrees. I'd like to remind you that next Tuesday is a big day in Enid, Oklahoma, and across the state. A lot of primary races. There's the Senate runoff race that will take place for District 19, I believe. Yes, there it is. Thank you, Penn. And then also the Call Lake project that we've been talking to you about for several weeks now. The vote is on extending a 1/4 cent sales tax, and then also to have a 3/4 cent sales tax with that to fund the Call Lake pipeline project. So I remember when we first started talking about it, it seemed like, wow, that's way down in August. Well, it's amazing how quick these days go. So, okay, we need to take a look at our pet promo. 249-4910 is the number to call. If you have a room in your heart and your home for a pet, let's look at that right now.
We are located at 1200 South 10th here in Enid, Oklahoma, and our phone number is 580-249-4910.
249-4910 is the number to call, again, if you have room in your heart and also in your house or your yard for a pet. Give them a call. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure to have our special guest, Art Reed, with us today, Enid resident, and we're going to have Art on a future show, and so we want to keep that in mind. Go to enidtv.org and learn more about our programs that's coming up. Thanks for joining us today. Good morning, Enid, and we'll see you next Thursday.